He also apologized for falling asleep at the wheel and never noticing how his mother was treating me. We talked things through, and then he called up his lawyer because he wanted to know if there was any legal way that we could get back at her for what she did. Unfortunately, we couldn't file a lawsuit for emotional distress because there weren't exactly any physical repercussions of what she did. So even if he did go after her, that was a good chance that we would end up wasting our time. I told Harry that there was no need for us to go after her anyway, and that we could just cut her out of our lives. But he told me that it wasn't good enough for him, and he wanted to teach her a lesson. I could tell that he was really angry on my behalf, and I loved him more for it, so I didn't try to stop him. He didn't do anything that day. But then the next morning, he told me that he had contacted his mother and told her that she had 3 days to issue a public apology. Not just to me, but also to my family. And it had to be in video form, or else he would make sure that all her business associates got to know about the way she had been treating me, and that would pretty much ruin her future because she carved a niche for herself as a female entrepreneur. But this wasn't exactly very feminist of her. The negative reputation could potentially ruin her future. So she probably have to take this threat very seriously. We are on the second day right now, and I honestly don't feel very good about this. This feels really close to blackmail. And I did tell Harry about it, but he dismissed my worries and told me that this was the only way to teach Olivia a lesson, to make sure that she would never repeat the kind of behavior or try to bother me again. I don't like this, Ida, for letting my husband go after my mother-in-law. Update 1. Hi. As many of you suggested, I sat Harry down after he came back from work and told him about my concerns. Yet again, I know Olivia is the bad guy here, but I don't want to stoop down to her level just to get back at her. And I told him that I didn't like the idea of him resorting to such tactics, only to get her to apologize. And an apology wouldn't even mean anything, because she would just be saying it for the sake of it. So I told him that I didn't want him to go through with this, and to call it off, and tell Olivia that she didn't need to put up any apology, and she was free to do whatever she wanted, as long as she stayed the heck away from us. Surprisingly, he didn't resist this time around, but just broke down into tears, and I had to console him for several minutes before he could finally tell me what he was upset about. As most of you said already, he was overcompensating for not taking things seriously and dealing with the situation properly. When I first told him about Olivia, I know most of it is my fault because I was so desperate to win her over and accept me even though she hated me. But after watching that video, which has since been deleted, he realized just how deep-rooted Olivia's problems were and felt really guilty. So he started channeling all that guilt into getting back at his mom, instead of just listening to me and what I wanted to do. Talking to me made him realize that he was making that same mistake again and not taking me seriously. It probably doesn't help that I'm quite submissive and literally have no idea how to assert myself. But we talked about it, and he texted Olivia and told her that there was no need for an apology because now he just didn't want anything to do with her. And that was it. I'm actually quite proud of the both of us for dealing with this so well and making sure that it's us versus the problem and not us versus each other. Honestly, Harry and I care very deeply for each other, which is why it was so hard for us to tell one another about the biggest problems. We need to work on that. So we agreed that we are going to look into marriage counseling, since we clearly could do with it. I have already started looking, and